And there she blows. Hello, everybody. WP Builds Weekly WordPress News. Thanks for joining us if you've come on live. I'm really far down. It's like I've shrunk or something. I'm going to sit up a bit more. Slouching, my mother would say. Over here, we have Dovey from Redux. How are you doing? Tell us about Redux very briefly, or indeed anything that you want to mention.
Yeah, so Redux is just used by millions of sites worldwide. We're almost to 10 million downloads, which is pretty cool. It's both a framework as well as a template library for Gutenberg blocks to really quickly build out a website. You should give it a try.
Nice. And you've got the URL there. Sorry, I said Redux. Redux.io.
It's okay if you're French. That's how you probably say it.
I am. I make no claims to being French, just being able to mispronounce things really well. And down there, Paul Lacey. Paul, have you got new glasses?
Yeah.
Have you got new glasses that look a lot like my new glasses?
I don't know. What is the make of these? I can't remember what they're called. Oh, Coral. They're called Coral, right? One of our clients is a Formula E racing driver. It's called Alexander Sims. He races for Mahindra, a team for Formula E, which is like the electric version of Formula One. And one of his sponsors is because a lot of the Formula E drivers are quite into the environmental side of things because it represents the top technology in electric cars in a way. And one of his sponsors is Coral, and so the Coral glasses are made from reclaimed fishing line from the ocean. So they're very kind of like a really matte feel. They're really light and they're so comfy. So I got those.
Now I feel bad because mine are just made of like really bad plastic, and they're heavy. But at least mine don't smell of fish though, which is quite a good thing.
Yeah, you can't catch a fish with yours as well. You could, what if you were out in the wild? You got stranded in the. You could maybe try and get the wire back out and catch a fish. I don't know. Who knows what?
Always guaranteed to go off topic. This week, isn't it? Dare I ask about Paul's clothing or anything like that? It just goes. Anyway,
don't mention anything.
Who are you? Where are you?
I do want to mention Davey's got hexagons and I've got circles.
I was thinking that. I haven't got any sort of shape. Well, I've got rectangles, but they're just books.
You need to get
We're
some
trendsetters.
Yeah, okay. Damn it. Berhard, we need shapes. Next time we're on, got to do shapes.
No, you won't see any elephant shapes. No, that's the
okay. Do you want to say any more about your company, Paul? Very briefly.
Go on then. So I am co-founder of the Dicky Bird Studio. We're a WordPress agency based in the UK. We mainly do partnership design and development with a kind of UX focus for other agencies that want to work with us. So yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you. That's cool. Thank you very much. Dickybirds.studio. That's right, isn't it?
Dickybirds.studio. Yeah, and I do have like a big eye in my. It looks like Licky Birds, doesn't it? Today, in my.
Sorry about that.
I tried to tell you.
Talking about
Oh, it is actually an L.
It's not. It's supposed to be an I. You just can't type.
Okay, fair enough. And down there we have Berhard Gronau, all the way from Austria. Berhard is a chocolatier turned WordPress developer. Tell us about the WordPress side or the chocolate side, one or the other.
Well, both are great. I mean, the chocolate you can only get in Austria because we are not sending it overseas because it's just the region we're dealing with. But it's from Belgium, so you can get it anyway. And the IT stuff was there before the chocolate. It's just my I don't know. I like working with WordPress, and now I'm building sometimes a little bit more advanced stuff for clients, like using pods. So there's the bridge over there. Especially using all the relationship stuff and always advertising pods a little bit because it's underrated in my opinion.
Yep. Thank you. We've got if Berhard we forget, you've put a link in to add about pods. So if I forget that, please let us know. Just very briefly, I might as well share the screen. This is us, WP Builds. Let's just go to the main page. We've got a Black Friday deal page going on at the moment. It kind of looks a bit like this. It's kind of searchable. I'm sort of trying to help out WP Builds. If you fancy using that page, it's wpbuilds.com/black. You can delete all that. And you can find a bunch of searchable, filterable deals there. It'll help us out. It's the usual affiliate stuff. I won't dwell on that too long. This is our news archive, and the top left one is always the one in question. Today, it's a gorilla, reminiscent of somebody very close in my family, and it's entitled WordPress 5.6 Beta 1 Full Site Editing Theme and Moon Telephones. We'll get to the moon telephones toward the end, one hopes, because it's not a myth. But first off, we'll deal with the first two, which are these two under the WordPress core section. WordPress 5.6 Beta 1. There's an article here over on WP Tavern. And it just sort of basically says that what's been added in, what's been taken out, and so on. And speaking of which, here we go. This is probably the main event for the beginning of the podcast. WordPress 5.6 release team pulls plug on block-based widgets. Justin Tadlock wrote this. You don't often hear about stuff getting pulled, do you? It's normally stuff getting added. I can't remember the last cycle. For the last 2 weeks, we seem to have had stuff being pulled out of 5.6. Quite unusual to hear that. What's going on?
I think it's a good idea. And we were talking just before the show, and Dovey was saying how it feels like the release schedule is like for a real product, you know, a realistic release schedule where
You're a real boy.
Yeah, I'm feeling your words throwing here, mate. But you know, you were saying, you know, and I just really resonated with that. When it's ready, you release it. I know that sounds crazy in this WordPress world. It's just, I know. But I totally echo that. And my favorite part of this article is further down the article, where, so this is just talking about how it's been pulled and everything. But later on, Justin is adding kind of an afterthought about, you know, are we adding new features to an old project? And the answer is obviously yes. And he points out that it's 17 years old. There's so many legacy features in there that people are used to. The funny thing is, I don't know if everyone even got used to widgets yet. So I can understand why, you know, they would pull those as people struggled with that, actually. And there's such a huge array of widgets out there that I know it's not replacing it, but I think to add that in is reasonably an extra complication. And I know I'm like a broken record when I talk about this, but come on, WordPress. You know, sorry. Come on, WordPress.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. How about get the editor right? Get that right. Get it perfect, and then expand it. What is the rush? Is there something? Is there a financial reason? Does Automatic need to get something out to fight with Wix or something? I don't know, but come on, just finish the editor, then expand it. What are you doing? And I'm glad that it seems that I'm not sure who the project leader is. Josepha Hayden.
She's the lead of the WordPress project.
Seems to be pulling stuff and starting to say it's not ready. We're not going with it, even though there's pressure. It's not ready. We're leaving it out, and nobody's complaining. Yeah, nobody's complaining. I think I've not spoken to anybody, but I assume nobody's complaining.
No, that's true. It's interesting though, but you can mark your diaries here, ladies and gentlemen, at 2:12 on Monday, the 26th of October. Paul Lacey finally got angry, and we've been prodding him to do it for nearly 2 years now, and with success. My life is complete. Well, you didn't get angry. You just made a common sense comment. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know why this all needed to go in. Block-based widgets. Is there any scenario in which you were going to use that had it been successfully deployed?
Well, the thing is, I'm going to echo Paul's statement as well. I think that this WordPress in the past couple of years has gone through some iterations. The customizer, remember that? The block editor, remember that? And I think the courage of this core team is powerful because they actually recognize that, you know what, we don't need another push scenario before it's perfect, right?
Nice.
And I really, really, really appreciate that. As someone who has followed the core and been very involved for a very long time, I'm grateful that we're starting to act more like an actual company and product. And I think if we can keep this cadence and just say, okay, we're going to have releases, but if something isn't ready, we are going to put it on the back burner until it is ready. That change at all will give a massive amount of confidence to the WordPress space. Whereas right now, I feel like we become a little bit of a laughing stock because sometimes we're shipping things that aren't quite ready to be out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't really sort of viewed it that way. I was viewing it more as a sort of as a sort of failure, in the sense that, you know, this was mooted to happen. It didn't get, you know, it didn't have enough, what's the right word? It didn't mature enough. And so there was a potential failure. But now that you mention it in that sense of the word, that's better, isn't it? You're right. I've just framed that in the wrong way in my head. So you're happy with these proposals that just get pushed back, and in this case, probably just to 5.7, right? Or there are aspects of this, I think, which they're going to put in 5.6 later down the track. I can't remember exactly where I read that, but there are components.
Remember, this is community driven, right? And so if people weren't interested enough to work and fix the problems, they didn't. And right now I read the biggest outstanding issue is how it interacts with the customizer.
Right.
And you know what? Just like Paul said, maybe this will never be something that comes to light. And that's okay. You know, we got to do what's right for the community, not just right for a think tank or an echo chamber.
Interesting, though. New stuff getting pulled. Just not familiar with this.
Or for WordPress.com.
Right. Quickly.
I
didn't say that. You're the chocolatier.
I think
I've got something to add, actually. Just one of the things that maybe this is the project lead influencing this, that, you know, we do a lot of work in, you know, not really serious stuff, but, you know, one of our focuses is user experience design, right? And there is two key aspects to any product design or user experience design that we're always thinking about, and the questions we ask to our clients. And one of them is, what are your business goals? And then the other is, what are your users' goals? Right? And I feel like this time someone has said, what about the user goals? And the focus before was the business goals, the product, competing with this product, competing with that product. But what about the users? And I really hope that this, you know, that something gets pulled every time. Something gets pulled for a good reason. And like you said, we'll have a lot more confidence in that this isn't just a top-down, forced through product release transformation for some reason we're not really aware of. WordPress.com.
Preach.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
I
enjoyed that. No, I enjoyed that a lot. I feel the meat and potatoes of this particular episode are coming up right now, though. It's this one on the community section. I'm just moving it along slightly. This is just so interesting to me, and it appears to be interesting and horrific in equal measure, depending on who you speak to. So I'll just, do the three of you mind if I just quickly paraphrase what this article says? Yeah. Okay, so in the last period of time, let's say it's a week, I can't remember, WordPress, that is to say WordPress.org, pushed a security update of a plugin which nobody was able to decline. That is to say, it came your way whether you asked for it or not. So if you had this particular plugin, which is called the Loginizer plugin, excuse my phone, just making a bing bong there. If you had the Loginizer plugin, it was forcibly updated. Now, apparently WordPress has been able to do this since version 3.7, going back to, well, I think dinosaurs were walking around at that particular time, but it's ages ago. There you go. Look, 2013, they've had this capability. And I believe they've only done it a couple of times before. Anyway, Loginizer, 1 million installs. There was a horrifically dangerous problem identified. And because it had to do with login and being able to literally take over the site, the severity was so severe, they just thought, okay, let's just push an update to everybody. Now, you can see where this goes. There's going to be those people who say, oh, thank you. That's one less thing for me to worry about. That's brilliant. Somebody's got a bit of oversight and somebody's made a sensible decision. And then there's going to be the other people who say, get off my land. This is my WordPress website. Although I have taken it from you for free, I've put it on my hosting. This is not for you to update. I need to update this when I feel ready to update it. And what if something had gone wrong? My position is this is fine. I think the diligence that was done here was fine. The end result was fine. I would imagine that a bunch of clever people sat around and tested this and worked out it was probably going to be fine. But I can see where the anger comes from. And so you look at things like the WP Tavern article, and people on both sides of the fence. So anybody want to run with this? Davey, what first?
Me?
Is it feasible to have terms and
Paul's
conditions of
going
use?
to go first, regardless.
Sorry, I was going to say, is it feasible that WordPress has terms and conditions of use that says that they can just do that, if they need to? So as an end user, I don't know, because I don't understand the license well enough, but I don't know if it is a license thing, but I think the issue here is like are they allowed, are they in trouble if they do nothing but knew about it, or are they in trouble if they did something and that broke a few sites? And then who are they, and should they even be thinking about it? I know it's the core team at WordPress.org, but this is so all I'm saying is, in a way, that it's like, I'm totally with you, Nathan, that I'm glad they did it, but I don't know, like, do they have the right to do that, or do they have the right to not do it if they know about it? So I don't know. Maybe one of the other people here knows more about what you could put in terms and conditions of use of your product or something.
Okay. Right. Dovey, let's take it to you then. What do you think?
Yes. So I think this is actually brilliant and wonderful. And I think that they say they've only used it a few times, but I'm sure it's been used more than before. This is just probably the highest profile plugin that's ever been seen, so people noticed it, right? There are many developers who make crap storms of their choices, and then they realize they have a problem. And there are a bunch of people in this space who actually go out and try and find vulnerabilities in plugins, hack them, tell the person, and wait for them to fix it before they tweet. We've had that happen to us twice at Redux, and we are grateful for it, but we always ask them, please wait 2 weeks after the release so people have a chance to, update before you expose how to hack their millions of websites. But this gives WordPress the ability to stop what has happened time and time again. And if you think of it from a developer side, it's a beautiful thing as long as it's not used nefariously, which I don't think WordPress.org would allow to occur. But if you're thinking about the impact of one bad release that can be exposed for users, I mean, it can basically destroy an entire company. Does anyone remember Ultimate Member? I love Ultimate Member, or any of the layer sliders, or any of them that have had really big impacts. Those kinds of bad press didn't help them, right? So as a developer, it's a great thing. As a user, there is a privacy concern. The question is more of, how is WordPress making sure that doesn't negatively impact? But I agree with you, Nathan. I don't think that the risk outweighs the benefit.
Yeah. Berhard, you got an opinion?
Well, I have no legal background to enlighten that, but I think it's possible, because else why would they do it? From a security standpoint, it's the only thing to do, because if the issue exists, it's just, what is worse, sites getting hacked, or maybe the forced update could do a little bit of harm. I mean, there's no question.
But I would rather do a little bit of harm for 10 people than a lot of harm for 1 million.
Yes. That's exactly the point.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point, right? Is as soon as, let's say that some nefarious hacker sitting in their bedroom, wherever they are, figures this out, and like you say, figures it out on the day after it was figured out by the security company. But, maybe there's 1 million sites, and presumably they could take down 1 million of those relatively quickly. Whereas exactly what you said, Dovey, if 10 people have a slightly inconvenient morning, and they could,
But I do understand the fear. Okay, if they can do it, who takes care that it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
For other reasons which we might not like then. So it's like always like this backdoors for security. I mean, it's great for law enforcement, but it opens a whole other box.
Yeah. Whenever you see Matt Mullenweg in the wild, he's often followed by a series of guys in like big, overalls and things, and they're carrying a briefcase which is locked to their arm. And if you open it up, there's this card, and you have to crack it open. It's got a code, and 2 people have to turn these dials at the same time, and that's how it works. Yeah, that's how an update is done. No, I'm imagining it's far less. Presumably it's a bunch of people sitting around just saying, "Yep, this is big. Let's just do it. I don't know what the checks and balances there are. And Paul, to your point, I have no idea what I'm agreeing to when I download WordPress. Is there even a tick box to agree to anything? Or is the clicking of the download from WordPress.org, is that all it is? I don't even know. I've no idea what.
Code, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And there is a way, Otto pointed out on this, that there is a way to disable these still. Even if you don't like it, you can add a filter. But I know Otto personally, and he does a lot of security at WordPress and WordPress.org. And I trust him explicitly. Like he's anal retentive about what permissions and powers WordPress.org has.
Okay.
But also he's anal retentive about keeping SVN over Get, but that's another discussion. But I don't believe that he would ever allow an update to go out that would impact a lot of people negatively, because I know and have seen him repeatedly in that sphere, and he is very, very careful. So I personally trust that side of the WordPress team.
That's really cool that you're able to come on here and say that, actually, because you actually personally know the person who potentially has had their fingers all over this. So that's lovely.
For the kingdom.
Yeah, he's the guy that's turning them both at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's wonderful. I guess the problem is for those people who are just WordPress users because WordPress was what was available at the time, or their developer put WordPress on their site, who suddenly take umbrage to this because they don't like the idea. And we're in an era where people are much more conscious about their security, and one of the things that we talk about when we sell WordPress is its open source nature. It's yours. The data is yours. Nobody can have it, and nobody can do anything to your website, well, except when they can. And then when they can, but that's fine. Don't worry about that. But I honestly think this is fine. I would imagine.
I got for just to like a chuck one out there. Is it Otto who would have pushed the update?
I'm not sure if it was Otto, but I know that he is heavily involved. I mean, he did the search algorithm. He's talked about this. He was the first person to respond to that WordPress article. So I'm pretty sure he's tight to this. Otherwise, he would have been, you can disable it. Here's a hook.
I just wonder, like, do they have something in their legal documents somewhere, the software, that means that nobody can go, oh, that cost us $1 billion. We're going to sue you. Who's responsible for this? And the WordPress.org go, we're just volunteers. So they go, okay, we need a name. It's Otto.
That's what Otto is to blame.
I'm sorry, Otto.
I was going to say, you've blown it. You've blown his cover.
If that is his real name.
Probably never happened. But I wonder if, like, it's something that is tight or needs tightening up just to protect.
I guess if there would have been a way, already a clever attorney in the US would have find a way to get money out of Matt or Automatic or whoever can be held responsible for this hilarious action and the possible harm. I'm quite sure of that.
They would have found a way. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm going to share past transgression here, just so you can give a little more light into why I believe in Otto in this situation. I made an update that made a boo-boo that gave unlimited metrics on every site that used Redux at one time. That was 500,000 sites back in the day. And I was getting lots of data. I'm like, wow, lots of people are opting in. Oops. It was all my fault. It was all my fault. And I went on and I talked to Otto about it, and he said, there is a way to deploy this, but that is not something that causes enough of a security risk that we would use it.
Okay.
And so I thought that was really cool. That was a foobar, but it didn't create an implication. I think the only time they would do this, and I'm pretty sure if I read this right, that the person gained unlimited access to the database.
Okay.
And so it was really easy to gain unlimited access. And in that case, that would necessitate and warrant provided enough testing and validation and a surety to do that. And if the user, the developer, screwed up, their plugin would be banned from .org immediately, and they'd roll back the update. They have that power. And so it's not something that's abused, and it's not something that can be utilized by developers often.
I think that's cool. Yeah, there's probably some sort of chart on Otto's wall, with lots of green ticks, and then the red cross. Finally, I've got one.
I had to cover my own butt. I fixed the problem in like 2 days. Okay, so I fixed it myself, and it was gone. But
I think we're missing the elephant in the room here, which is to say that this is a plugin whose purpose is to make it more difficult to log into your WordPress website. I mean, I'm not a developer, so I shouldn't be making light of this, but it is somewhat ironic that it's not
just
like a content.
so easy that those kind of mistakes happen. I didn't read exactly what happens in this case, but I mean, if you have a plugin and adding stuff, and at some point you get into a race condition or whatever, and people are quite creative to find out ways to exploit your code. And I mean, if you watch some of the tutorials, how they debug and try, you hit this endpoint then, and just a second later this one, and then to trigger that one, and then maybe you get. I mean, it's crazy.
Do you ever watch the this is totally going off piece, but do you ever listen to or follow coverage of the Pwn to Own conference when that's on?
I do.
I mean, I do. And so this is a conference that they put on every year, and they get really enterprise level software, and they stick it on a computer, and they put a price tag on basically hacking it. So an example might be Chrome. So here's a brand new computer with a vanilla version of Chrome on it. Can you get out the sandbox? Can you literally get down to the operating system level and all of this kind of stuff? And there's tons of money to be made. If you're really good at this, then you can
Last 2 years was a Tesla Model 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
people come out with like $500,000, but what always surprises me is the chain of things that they've got to do to make it to get out of the sandbox. They'll do this tiny little thing which leads to some tiny little disclosure of data, and then they hook into that with another thing, and then a buffer overflow, and then like you say, a race condition, and all these, and you read it, and it's a laundry list, and it's like 10 consecutive things which have to happen in the right order, and they do it, and you just think, oh, we're doomed. Give up.
I'm probably the only person in this room who hacks for fun.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Do you get paid for it? Do you do that? Do you enter these competitions?
No, I'm going to buy a Tesla just so that I can hack a Tesla so that Elon can pay me back for my Tesla. That's my life goal. But no,
that's so good.
It is true, but that's not true in the WordPress space. So think of it this way. All it takes is watching an API call. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. So many of the update plugins, like their updaters, there's no security on any of them. You get any version of any theme out there, and you can get all the new versions of every plugin they ship with by just hitting an endpoint. It's so simple, and it's all the time available. WordPress is not big on security, and WordPress developers don't know what security is. As someone who's actually in big data, I actually know about security, and so it is so easy to get past this. All that's really happening in 90% of all these hacks are SQL injection.
Right.
They find an endpoint, and it gives them complete control, and then they can pull. They're not interested in taking over the website as much as they're interested in putting spyware or downloading a massive user base to market to. I mean, that's where the money is. I mean, it's Facebook on a smaller scale, right? And so you just have to remember that it's not that complicated to hack a crappy plugin. It's not.
The thing is it worth the effort? And that's the point why not much happens in the end, besides some low-end sites where you have spyware and adware and stuff like that. But it's far more interesting for the skilled people to go and use, like it happened this year with the Citrix stuff, where you can put keyloggers and all that stuff, and entry into businesses where you can get ransom of millions, because they know they lose far more time and money if they don't pay you. And that's happened the last year, because there was a big
ransomware.
There was a big bug in the Citrix gateway, and that's where the money lives. And that's the reason why comparatively not really much happens on most of the WordPress sites, because the stuff that is very easy to do with automated stuff and things like that, that gets handled quite well if you just pay attention for the basics. So,
okay. Well, it's an interesting topic. So normally in the security section of this, we say, go and make sure you get updated. Not today. Go and just go there and it's done. It's already updated. Right. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next one. I'm going to miss a few out. Let's go to this one. I think this is quite a big moment, actually. This is so we've got an
Go
acronym.
Ari.
Yay! Got an acronym. FSE. We mentioned this the other day. It's not the Financial Services. Oh no, that's the FSA, Financial Services Authority in the UK. This is FSE standing for. What does it stand for? It's gone out of my head.
Full-site editing.
It's full-size editing. Full-site editing.
Could have been sponsored by Tesla for full safe driving. I don't know.
It will edit for you while you sleep.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. You just install it and it just builds you a site. Anyway, full site editing is the capability which has been much touted in the new block editor Gutenberg to be able to do the whole gamut. And we have this theme. Justin Tadlock's talking about it on WordPress Tavern. It is by Aristasopoulos. Sorry, Ari.
Yep.
Good. Wow.
Ari. He's fantastic. And he created Kirky, and
yes.
a good friend of mine.
Perfect. Well, you literally know everybody today. This is great. Can you tell us all about this? It's a slimmed down, full site editing first theme in the repo where you've got a bit of an insight into what's possible. I've not looked at it. I've not played with it, but allegedly it's just so that other people can delve in and say, okay, this is how we might go about doing it in the future. Full site editing, of course, headers, footers, everything inside the block editor. Does anybody want to chip in on this one first? If you do, just shout very quickly.
Ah!
Okay, right, good, right, that's it, right, moving on.
No, someone else go first. I'll finish off.
Am I going first?
Yeah, go Paul.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah.
So here we are, and it would be awesome to see how, if ever, we can go from something simple like this, where it's totally obvious how you can sort of see the concept of full site editing works, to a realistic website with complicated stuff going on. But like I said, the main point is you got to start somewhere. Great job. It looks like the first site that was done for full site editing, and so it's kind of what I would expect. And well done to the person David knows who did it, because a lot of eyes are going to go on this. So people are going to say, "Oh, it doesn't look very good" or something, but that's not the point. That isn't the point of this at all. This is a proof of concept.
Say that you can't go out and just sort of install it. You need to get the latest version of Gutenberg, as in the Gutenberg plugin, which is not in core. And then you need to enable, what is it? There's an experimental full site editing flag somewhere that you need, or a checkbox that you need to go enable. And then you can do all of this stuff. So there's a few little hoops to go through.
Most of you know my point of view to Gutenberg and all the blog stuff and my little wild west. I still it's great and it opens opportunities, but I mean they built Gutenberg as a blog editor for the back end to kind of build your news and posts and stuff like that. And now you go and show that on the front end of your site and build your site with it, but you don't see your site because it's not real. What you see is what you get, like the other page builders. So I'm missing. Yes, of course, but it somehow still feels disconnected. Like it's an editor from the admin, but it's not on the front end. And now we're mixing it up together, and it's great because I think Gutenberg needs time, but I think it will be used more and more. I still don't like it. I don't know. It's great if you have to write blog posts or news articles, but for everything else, but maybe that's because I'm building sites which are more like structured data and authors and books or stuff which is connected. And then Gutenberg, for me, they didn't think about really deeply about templates or stuff like that. So now they are starting to think about, okay, how do we display posts and stuff like that, and how do we dynamic stuff. But it feels like, I don't know, I'm not that close to the development, but maybe I'm wrong. But it feels like this dynamic stuff and the templating isn't really implemented or thought about beforehand. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Okay, so we're gonna go. No. Quite honestly, I was with you so long. Like, I hated the concept of Gutenberg. I was like, oh, it's the customizer again. That pile of shiz. I appreciate the people who made the customizer. Please don't. I'm kind of joking, but sort of not. But for me, it just never made sense, right? When you're building something with complex data, it doesn't make sense. And I think you're right, Berhard. It is not a focus on structured data. It's a focus on displaying. And so I think there is still a disconnect between Gutenberg and dynamic content, right? It's not there yet. You can show meta boxes, you can add stuff into Gutenberg, but it's all clunky. It's much better than it was in the beginning. Oh my gosh, so much better than it was. But there's still a big disconnect. And I was just talking to a buddy of mine with an idea of building a WordPress or WooCommerce plugin. And he's like, oh, I should do blocks. I'm like, you need dynamic content for that. You should do a short code in Gutenberg because there ain't no way you're doing dynamic content in Gutenberg, because the whole point of Gutenberg is to pre-render the template. The entire thing is rendered and stored in the object. So basically you're creating a cache of the design, which is brilliant. It works great for a lot of things, but it does not work for dynamic anything. Unless you want to put an API on top that hooks in with JavaScript. No, not going to happen. At least not now. What Ari did, though, is a little bit different. He said, we were talking about this, and he said, honestly, this was like a weekend focus, because he has recently gone to Juice to be a core developer for WordPress. So he got a job at Juice as a WordPress core developer. So that's pretty cool. He gets to work full time. And he said there was absolutely no way for anyone to test Gutenberg full site editing. And he's like, this is ridiculous. And so he threw together a theme, and he's like, I didn't even know that Justin was watching that, because he just posted it on the directory and Justin posts an article. He's like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, it's gained popularity, but the whole point was just to show for the Gutenberg team how far away they are.
Nice. That's a good way of putting it.
Well, that's what Ari said to me directly. He's like,
yeah,
we are not there yet. And the tote that we are, or the belief that we're close, is not a reality. Look at this theme. You know, it's to give them a chance to actually interact and see what's possible and really see what's not. So
have a limited set your expectations low if you want to build a site with this just at the moment, but nevertheless go and have a play, especially if you're a theme developer or you've got pretensions of being a theme developer. It just seems like this is the time to jump in.
That's the stuff how development works. I mean, go back 4 or 5 years as Beaver Builder started as one of the first with a real page builder, and look at the ecosystem now with all the Beaver Themer and Elementor dynamic stuff and all the others going that route and thinking about these things. So there is a need for it, and it's great for the ecosystems to have different options. I like it because it's great, because everybody can pick their style of coding, yes, or use Oxygen or other stuff. So, I don't care, because it's good for different use cases, as long as you're aware of the drawbacks and the stuff you get into and the things behind it.
So I'm going to put in one more plug. Is that okay?
Sure.
I think, not so much for me, but just for developers as a whole, I would agree completely with everything we've said here, that it is not quite there. But I cannot stress the opportunity of being first to deliver, first into a product. If you're a developer trying to find something, yeah, you could build for Elementor and you're going to get some money. But if you can succeed in Gutenberg, you're going to get a lot of money. I mean, look at CoBlocks. Look at all these other people who've done a lot of stuff. There's a lot of greenfield here, and there's a lot of benefit to marketing. So I suggest a hybrid approach, saying, oh, I'm going to focus on Elementor, but I'm going to make it work in Gutenberg or something like that. But when it comes to designs, I have converted my mind. Like, I built all of Redux.io with a single block plugin, stackable, and Gutenberg. And I was shocked at how beautiful I could make it so quickly without anything. And that's really great because I hate themes. I used Astra, which basically doesn't have anything in it. I mean, it's the fastest theme for a reason. It doesn't really have much in it, right? It's just very mute designs. And it's really wonderful what you can create. But having used Visual Composer, WP Bakery, Elementor, and all of them, it is a tenth of the power of the other builders. And I hope that in time it will get there. I think that you can still do amazing, beautiful things. And for most people who are just building a landing site or a virtual CSV, right, Gutenberg is fantastic. But when we talk about something really advanced, you need something else, advanced custom fields, pods, Redux, whatever it may be, you need something more. And then you have to code those custom designs because it's not going to happen in Gutenberg. It's not.
This is a good point. I feel like it is still the wild, wild west, Bernard. You're right, but it's getting there. We're getting there. So go and download this.
I just want to ask Davey a question, actually. In your opinion, so Ari created this, and probably someone somewhere. This is like supposed to be a bit of a reality check situation. Like, do you think a bunch of people will sit down and actually go, oh yeah, do you know what? We're not there. Or I mean,
okay,
I hope so. I hope so. I just wonder where the delusion is in the chain. I wonder where it is.
Well, my honest opinion, if you want it fully, I think that themes are going to
disappear. Stop recording.
Sorry, theme review team. I think that themes are going to be a thing of yesterday because nobody's really going to. More and more, the theme review team says you can't put that in the themes. Okay, put it in a plugin. You can't put that in themes. Okay, it's in a plugin. What is left in the plugin? A few templates. And if you succeed in doing Gutenberg templates like using Redux, you can use any theme and suddenly transform your site into anything new without having to have any theme code. Like there's really not a lot of need. We're going to the world of patterns and blocks and templates and all of that. And Elementor is making a ton of money in that space right now because they're offering pre-designed kits, right? They're not even shipping themes. They're saying, hey, here's a kit to turn your theme into anything you want. I don't see a future of themes.
Yeah, it's we're discussing here as developers or more closer to code and stuff like that. But it's amazing what power all those tools put into the hand of a not that experienced user. I mean, it's not always a good idea, but in the end, they can do things. I mean, our layouts with Gutenberg, they did never dream of even achieving. And we're not talking about the top 500 sites because they have custom program templates and stuff like that. But about the mom and pop shop, whatever, just goes on WooCommerce and does the description with Gutenberg, and that stuff works. So it's kind of, we need to differentiate between developers and custom or built by owners, stuff like that.
Right.
And there is where Redux or ACF or pods help them out to get a little bit custom post types, for example, if they get into that. And you have the page builders or Gutenberg, which make it very easy to just drag and drop around and change stylings and nothing to need about CSS and stuff like that. And it works more or less, and it's maybe not the perfect on mobile, but they don't care because it's for the investment they have. It's a great thing to have. But on the other hand,
But what it does give us is the freedom of vendor lock-in, right? So if you use a plugin over a theme, you're not so locked into that theme. And that, I think, is where the theme review team has been focused. But I think it's also where we're going to end up losing the relevance of themes, personally.
Yep. I can certainly see that being that playing itself out. Let's see. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of wait and see, look, here's something else. That was the worst segue ever. That was great. Okay, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is just a total colossal waste of time or if it's a really good thing to do. So if you are using any of the following themes, 2020 right through to 2010, the team are going to make block patterns available. So block patterns, if you use a page builder, imagine it's like a module in Beaver Builder. You can drag in a pre-configured design, like a testimonials block or something. That's a block pattern. We want it to be available for, a bunch of themes, the most recent themes. Do we want a ton of time being spent going back to 2010. And I thought, what a colossal waste of time, until I read the numbers. And by the time you get down to this part of the article, I can't remember what it is, but there are millions of sites using these older 20-something themes. Anyway, I just don't know. I don't know whether this
most
is
popular themes ever because they're force installed.
Yeah, well, that's kind of. Does anybody ever use a 20 anything theme apart from just to look at it and go that you do?
You use it to test because you got to make sure it works.
Yeah, I thought you said yes. You said
no.
For testing. That's
only
like for pods. Oh, did you use a default theme? Did you deactivate all plugins? And then let's see if it's still broken.
Okay. So if that's the case, is there any point in spending all of the hours that would be needed to go back to 2010?
I'm not sure that it's that much of effort, because if the patterns are just well designed, they might just work in most of the themes because they don't do much of any special stuff.
It's just
throwing a
CSS.
template, and it might work even just minor tweaks if even needed, because they have Gutenberg already on it and they just load in the template.
Well, anyway, if you're rocking that 2010 theme on your, mission critical WooCommerce site, rest assured you're going to be in good hands at some point in a future release. It's going to work. Anyway, there you go. I
would imagine that a lot of those sites are those auto-generated link building website farms.
Yeah, that's what it is.
WordPress is installed, a bunch of automated content is put on there. I'm talking like thousands and thousands of them are probably that.
Right.
But I have to use 20. I always keep 2020 now installed, because if I don't, then I get an annoying message from the site health to say,
yes,
you should have one of these in case something goes wrong.
You must use our special theme.
Yeah. So then I have to put it back. Otherwise, my clients get worried all the time. So that's annoying.
I always found these themes annoying. They should never have been ever listed in the top themes ever, because they're not really themes. They're prepackaged modules. It's like Hello Dolly is not a plugin. It is a example.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I think the general consensus there is no. It's maybe a bit of a waste.
Any new features for Hello Dolly at some point, or is it? It's not been updated for a while, if anything.
Yeah, we're gonna bring back Louis Armstrong and make him say new things. Hello, WordPress.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was there. I know it's there to demonstrate that stuff can go in there, but what is the point of it now?
It's an example plugin.
Let's not get into that.
That's it. To just show you how to do a plugin.
Right.
Easy, yes.
But calling it
to do an admin notice.
There's a segue. Right. Okay. Perfect. Look at that. Ka-ching. New plugin came out this week. I say this week. I've no idea if it's this week. Recently, a new plugin came out called Admin Notices Manager. A few people in our Facebook group said that they tried it out and it hadn't worked as they'd expected, in that it hadn't cleaned things up quite the way they'd hoped. But the idea is you install this plugin and all those admin notices, which frankly you don't, which could be borderline adverts, let's say, but admin notices in general, even the adverts and the general admin notices get tucked away in a sub menu. So all your admin notices are over there and you have to go and find them. I actually think this is a really good idea. This is how I think it should be in WordPress. I think there should be a menu item called notices, and it ought to have the little red, when a plugin needs updating, it says 1 or 2 or whatever. It should say admin or notices and then with a 3 next to it. And you go and find them. But I'm not sure everybody agrees. Dovey, you like the admin notices, I think, don't you?
So it's interesting. So I'm going to say that this was started by companies like, Jetpack, causing admin notices. And people have taken it too far. I mean, we had a point at a time where when the developer had dev mode on, which was a little arg in our key, we showed them notices. We're like, hey, there's a new update. So we could encourage developers to update. But the problem is people don't disable that, and people have abused it because it's the best marketing tool you have in WordPress. Now, the primary gripe everyone says is, I've got all these notices. I hate them. They shouldn't be there. Well, 99% of them can be dismissed. It's just people don't dismiss them. It's odd. So we're trying this plugin out, and I think the concept is good. But the problem is you can only do so much with JavaScript, and it is so easy to bypass this stuff. So easy. So unless you suddenly retroactively force everybody to use a new API, or they can't do any updates type of thing for notices, I don't know if you can really govern or control. It's not going to do that much, at least not initially.
Okay. Paul, would you stick this on? Berhard, stick this on your sites? I would. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's just got me thinking, should it be it's a fix to a policy problem. In a way.
Yes.
So
purely.
So I think it's good that it exists, because it's another reason. It's another, because I know the core team like to point at certain plugins and say, look how many installs we've got, apart from if it's the classic editor. And this would be good to see how many people install this. So there's a case to point at it and go, look, we need admin notices, but they're used for the wrong things sometimes, or they're used. So why not, when you install WordPress, be able to say, I agree to messages about product updates that are important, and I agree to marketing updates from the plugin developers. Then everyone can just tick the boxes they want, and there you go. You can have adverts with flying bats or whatever it was.
I want the flying bats
Paul.
advert. That's it. I'm in.
You're talking about actually working with the plugin developers and creating a middle ground, Paul. We don't do that.
It's yet another delusional idea.
But no, like if they took it further, right, and created a notification system that developers could use, and then people could opt in, suddenly everyone problems goes away. Everybody's happy, and users get what they want. But WordPress.org doesn't want to facilitate marketing. They just want to punish marketing that drives WordPress.org.
Yeah.
My issue is if plugins are overdoing it, and currently I think we have no plugins which do that, so that's not a problem. But it's sometimes annoying if they stick their notices on every screen and everywhere, and not just on the sites where they belong. So I mean, it's easy to override, because hook it into somewhere in WordPress and put stuff out. I mean, even if we had no notice systems, we would have notices. So that's, I don't know, whatever you do, you need complaint from the developers. But for sure, it could need a little bit of more systematic stuff, like differentiate between real warnings and notices, so that you can see the important stuff. And you don't get some notices again and again, even if you click them away and stuff like that. But luckily, the plugins I use don't do that, because then they get not used anymore, unless they are so great that you can't replace them. And we know about big, maybe search-related plugins which did that and didn't go very. It didn't any good for them, I think. No, we don't talk about it.
I think for that plugin, it probably was a bit like in the UK. We had this rule about opening the big supermarkets on Sunday, and all the big massive supermarkets would get a fine if they opened on Sunday.
Wow!
But the fine was tiny compared to the money they made for opening the supermarket on Sunday. So you kind of go, what our policy might be. Let's put this out, pretend we didn't mean to, take all the money, and then apologize, and then do it again next year. And then we'll weigh up the pros and cons of the money versus getting, a few people in a bit of a bubble like us, basically, who care about this stuff, talking about it, and what a terrible thing! Look, they were talking about it in WP builds.
Hey, I've got a third way. What if I bought a Kindle last year, and I was given the option of buying a Kindle, the one I bought, or I could buy a cheaper one, and it would show me ads. I can't remember what it's called, Kindle something, Kindle with something. And I bought the one without. I spent a bit more money. Yep. What if you were allowed? What if there was a layer in between hiding notices and everybody gets their notices shoved in the admin, where you can opt in for like upsells and things.
Donate $1 to the plugin developer or something.
Right.
And
So
forever gone.
Or we'll give you this. We'll give you these 2 extra features, which are in the premium version, if you accept our advertising, if you accept our upsell offers, and so on. I can just see that going down like a lead balloon.
But again, you're thinking of this as a business guy, and the WordPress team is a bunch of volunteers, and they are very good about thinking about the end user. But there is a real disconnect between the fact that you can't have people on working on core unless they make money. I mean, most of the developers on WordPress core are facilitated by paying companies who are paying to have you work there. And so everybody else doesn't get a say. I mean, it is ridiculous. They're like, oh, but it's free. No. I mean, Yoast just got poked for having referral links in docs to Yoast offerings, right? So that was something they banned documentation from having docs.
Yeah, and that's right.
Yoast pointed out himself. He's like, that is what drove our success. But we're taking that away. And so I don't know when this is going to come to fruition, but we got to realize that without people making money, people don't make things. So unless we support them in some way that's reasonable, you're going to always find people trying to make ways around it because you don't give them a facility to do it properly.
Maybe we need the opposite of this plugin. Maybe we need the instead of admin notices sort of a way of hiding things, maybe we need a plugin called Admin Notice Maximizer. And it just makes all the admin notices like font size 52 and blink.
But that leads, I want to connect with this topic about paying for WordPress and stuff around that. WordPress has kind of the same issues we have in the small version with pods, how to raise money and how to get people to do stuff. And you have a huge following of WordPress which does their work for free. They may not have the influence sometimes because the paid people can do more or are more recognized, or because they have a formal education, are working on the core team or whatever. But never underestimate all the people doing out the work for free out there. I mean, look at the WordPress plugin repository. There are many great plugins which doesn't cost a dime. So
regenerate
it's
thumb.
not easy to balance all those things. Yeah, I mean, and
user role editor.
For yes. The stuff Justin Tadlock did before with his themes and things like that, Hybrid and stuff like that, which people who have been longer in the ecosystem might know about. So it's always a mix of it. And maybe for people watching, think about giving back if you have the chance, if you're using a tool you like, recognize the developer or thank them or help out. That's exactly where I got involved with pods, because I used it. It's great. It did the job for me. Didn't cost a dime, so I did sponsor them and I helped out in the team. And
I'm going to claim 2 out of 3 good segues. This is a good segue. Look at the screen. Look at the screen.
I wanted to add a comment though.
Oh, go on. Darn it.
Then you can segue.
That's okay.
Redux was historically a framework for developers, and to be honest, building a developer product in WordPress is probably the worst business decision you can ever make, because even though you help people make millions of dollars, 56 million for Redux, you make nothing. It's a really hard thing to do. So if you're a developer and you're building something and you're like, oh, other developers will like it, I tell you to stop. Focus only on users, because if you build a product that will facilitate users, you can succeed. I have not seen one developer product that gets paid nearly at all what a small, crappy little user-centric product makes. I mean, it's hard.
Okay,
I'm just being honest here.
No, I like it. I like your honesty. You add something very cool to this debate. It's really nice. Right, this is the segue post digression segue. Do you want to talk about this? I know that you'd mentioned this. You sort of alluded to this, Berhard. What is this? What's Scott Kingsley?
Because there's always discussion going on. Is pod sustainable? Do they get enough funding? What happens if they go away? I mean, not that it can happen to any company. We have seen that. Hathways and other themes and stuff like that, plugins vanishing, getting bought by others, and then discontinued. But in this case, I don't know if you're aware, but GitHub was doubling sponsors. So, like, if you donated, the receiving people did get double the amount, and we managed. Scott did started, and we managed to get the. Like, say, they limited at $5,000, and we got to the full amount.
Nice.
And I thought it was worth sharing it because somebody needed a feature and donated to him, and he gives a little bit of his private time. And Gutenberg GitHub to double it. So and Scott is, if you don't know, it's the lead developer behind Pods. He more or less owns the. It's for nonprofit in Texas, and I think it's not registered as it in the nationwide, but laws and all the rules, it's not easy. But he works almost for free on Pods. I think at some time he even put his own money into the project to keep it running and up. So, but not many people know it, and he doesn't talk about it. And so I sometimes talk about it because I think it's important to know the people behind the products you're using.
Yeah.
So
this is github.com/sponsors/Scott Clark, 2 T's and a 0 instead of an O. So anyway, you can probably see
or
that
just go to friends.pods.io and support Pods directly. Both are quite valid. And we're not quite sure how it will work out, but there are in the works some, like, let's call it pro add-ons to Pods. It's not sure how it will work because it's difficult with the friends and the donations and the perception of it. But there will for sure be benefits for friends of Pods that even might be more than currently, or for sure there will be. It's not fully worked out how it will work out. But keep an eye on it. Like advanced Gutenberg support. 2.8 will add some new nice features, hopefully this year, but let's see. No, it's not ready yet.
Okay, so pods.io, friends.pod.io.
Friends.pod.
Okay.
You should know it, Nathan.
I know, I should. However, my memory is that of a goldfish, so it's unlikely I'm going to remember it, but I will try harder. Right, okay.
The link just for you.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I'll get a tattoo of it just there, and never ever be forgotten ever again. We're going to have to wind this up because we're running out of time. I'm really sorry.
Can we feature one item?
Yes, I'm going to put that one in. Yes, let me just find it.
Is it a segue if it was one item before this one?
Yes,
it's a segue.
Anything is a segue. Yeah, hold on.
We were talking about that.
There it is.
The things that like WordPress.org allows and doesn't allow, and then we've got this new summit, Wordfest, and it's what an awesome website design, first of all.
Oh, yes.
No.
This
Don't
is
you?
really
I love it.
I really like it. And there's something that feels really energetic about this particular WordPress event. And it's a big celebration of the community. So it's, I think, anything goes type event, but it's very community focused.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things about it is that this is organized by the majority of people organized in this are key organizers for WordCamps. And in their about section, there's Dan. He's done the London one a number of times. He's like the busy person running around like crazy at London WordCamp and stuff. And Michelle from GiveWP is I think an organizer as well of WordCamps and stuff. So, but it's not a WordCamp, and they mention this in their FAQs on the about page. In terms of saying why it's not a WordCamp, and says that while they're a team of WordCamp organizers and they love WordCamps, One of the things they want to do here is support the charity Big Orange Heart, which is for the most part a mental health charity, I think, positive well-being and mental health within remote working communities. But WordCamps don't permit, it says in the FAQs here, WordPress don't permit fundraising for specific charitable organizations. So it's another thing where, a bit like the thing we were talking about earlier about adverts within there and ways to work with users and developers to actually say that, these kind of things can happen in a slightly different way, that these people are putting all their time and effort into an event that is not a WordCamp because they want to do something else good with it as well, which is great. It's just really interesting to me that this event feels like it's got tons of energy associated with it, and it's not a WordCamp, and I'm looking forward to it like a real WordCamp. It looks great.
It really does.
There's no information about speakers because none of that's
it's still on open call, isn't it?
Speaker or a sponsor. I don't know who the speakers are going to be, but it just looks good, and I want to go. Or if I can be involved, I want to be involved. But I definitely want to go and meet some new people in WordPress and help the charity.
Nice, cool. Thank you. That was cool. That was a good
built by Elementor.
Yes, it is. Yeah, indeed. I'm really sorry for those people who have made comments. For some reason, they haven't been coming through on my side until a flurry just came in. So apologies about that. I didn't see them all. Just to say, nice dynamics today. Thank you, Max. Max made lots of comments. Very excited about WordFest, says Emily from GoWP. Hello, Emily. And apologies for cocking up the comments this week. That's entirely my fault. However, in the most sublime of segues, phone calls on the moon, right?
Yeah.
This is cool. This is
I can see how you made that segue. Yeah.
See where my brain I went from like Wordfest to telephone calls on the moon. This is great. How cool. Anything to do with space just gets me. Nokia have got in touch with NASA, or NASA got in touch with Nokia, and they've said, if we've got ambitions to put people on the moon, what do we need to do? Well, we need to be able to browse Facebook, don't we? And because we need to be able to browse Facebook when we're on the moon, we need 4G at the very least. And so that's what Nokia have decided to do. They've decided to put 4 or 5G on the moon, but it's tiny 5G. It's not going to be great masts. It's like little boxes which can go up in spaceships. And it's important, it's important to think about these things. We need to be able to browse the internet.
Can I post an Instagram photo of my bare legs with my feet, while I'm sitting on the moon dust?
Yeah, you will. They'll probably look fairly different if you've got bare legs in that temperature.
Right.
They'll either be on fire or they'll be like frozen solid, depending on which side of the moon you're on.
Well, I'm not really that into Instagram anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Put them on Facebook. It'll be you can use the filters. It'll be fine.
Okay.
But yeah, just so weird. And then I don't know if you saw. Sorry, complete digression. Elon Musk has now said that he wants to put 1 million people on Mars by 2050. 1 million people. That's 3 flights a day of 100 people every day going to Mars. And you've got to ask, where are the people who are going to be queuing up to go and live on Mars? Anybody? Any takers? Anybody?
Are you sure we're out of time? Because I want
to
talk.
Nathan,
you said we were out of time, man.
I know, I'm so sorry.
I'm really sure there will be people taking him up on that offer. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
Oh, without question. To see the space. Oh, man.
I know.
And we're talking about cell research. Oh, yeah, and Starlink. We haven't talked about Starlink. I'm all over Starlink.
Starlink came over my house the other day about 1 a.m. Well, it actually came over in France once and then over my house. And it was sublime to watch it. There they all were, except this slightly petulant one, which was not in a line. There was this one satellite, which is obviously being a bit naughty.
Every family has a bad one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. We really are out of time. Enough of that nonsense. What's happening to you this week? I am literally doing nothing. My kids are on holiday, so I'm going to spend lots of time with them, I think. Dovey, anything exciting?
Just working on stuff. Nothing special.
That'll do. Paul?
a bit of what you two said, actually. I'm going to try and take a day or two off because it's the half-term school holiday, and then working on some stuff, like Davey said. I didn't realize you were working on stuff as well. How crazy is that we're both doing the same thing this week?
Yeah,
Imagine that.
Yeah, segue.
Yeah.
And I bet Bernard's working on a bit of stuff this week as well. That makes me the odd one
there's
out.
a lot of stuff going around.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to be worked
Keep
on.
your stuff to yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry, I won't share with my chocolate with you.
I want some so bad.
Yeah, we all need chocolate. Bernard's going to donate chocolate to everybody. Right, that's it. We're all going. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to make any comments, please do after the show is over. That would be lovely. If not, then that's fine. Don't make any comments. Whatever. Yeah. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Dovey. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bernard. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care, everybody. Bye.